Hey guys, what is up? This is Rapmark.
And the casual houseplant.
Indeed, back for another review. So what are we reviewing today?
Today we are reviewing Joker.
That's right, the controversial and what some people have described as one of either you hated it or you loved it kind of movies.
By all means.
You have no idea what's in store for you today, so buckle up. It's going to get weird. So I'm it's so hard for me to describe this movie. Not to describe it, but to describe how it made me feel. Like, there were points where I felt uncomfortable. There were points where I was it was so real. Like, for in terms of like mental disability and social commentary, this was probably the realest thing I've ever seen.
I can definitely agree. It just kind of. You don't really get the Gotham vibe off of it. More so, you just see it purely as like a New York City. And
Or
with
any
that, it
big
makes it
city, yeah.
even more terrifying. And with it, it just kind of shows the actual real life struggle a lot of people are going through right now. And it involves just getting medical coverage and actually having like therapists who listen and people being taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, he goes through, like, you see him with this social worker, like, she's supposed to help him, and you get the opinion that, yeah, she doesn't listen at all. And then, of course, the city has to cut funding, so what gets cut? Social programs.
Including his medications, which he can no longer take without any proper medical help.
Yeah, which, they're like a whole just feedback loop of things that just build up. Like, this thing, you never saw a bright spot in this film. Like, that's one thing I'll say, is it was all just so, like, well, the bright spot was there, but it was like a dark bright spot, if that makes sense.
It's kind of just the crusty side of reality where you see, like, oh
Yeah.
wait, he actually has a valid point about all this fucked up shit that's going on. But wait, oh no, it's still messed up and he's still technically wrong. But it's played out in a really bright, colorful, and humorous way, but it's not necessarily worth giggling about.
Yeah, like, there were maybe two parts where I caught a laugh. And I think you know those parts, because I think I saw you laugh on those parts too. One was, well, I'll go in that into spoilers, but let's just say he's a clown, and he starts out as a party clown, and that's his job, and he's completely disrespected by his coworkers. I'm not even sure what his boss thought about him.
As a precursor, I will
Yeah.
say, just think if the movie Patch Adams had gone horribly wrong.
Yeah. It was like I it's like, in terms of sympathy, like, at no point did I fully feel sympathy for him per se, but it was like, that this is a dude who's going through some shit, and you know that he's going bad, and you don't want it to happen. Like, that's the closest I got to it.
I can relate to that, but also it's just that moment of like, you can see he generally has that problem going on. He's trying to fight it himself because he knows it's wrong by society's standards. He's trying to make everyone else happy that he can, but it's just not panning out, and he just keeps trying until it ends up just going too far and
Yeah, and then,
blowing up in some people's faces.
yeah, it's like, and the amount they included, like we how we talked, it was a social commentary, the crowds, just everything. Like, I mean, you see that a lot. Like, you saw that in, like, the Occupy protest during the big recession and
Mm-hmm.
all that. These are real issues, and people are just like, you hear people at top, it's just like, I made something of my life, make
Mm-hmm.
something of yours. It's just like, it ain't that easy.
That and also has some really good commentary on gun control. Because
Hmm.
even if someone can't technically buy a gun because they're mentally ill, doesn't mean they can't get a hold of one still.
Yeah, and like, how did, oh yeah, his friend gave him it, or well, his friend gave him the
for
gun.
self-defense
Yeah,
because people
even
think he's stupid and crazy, and he needs to be able to defend himself from getting beat up.
yeah, like there was a whole scene where he just gets beat up by a bunch of kids, and it's so and like, what do you think of his performance? I loved Joaquin Phoenix's performance, the way he pulled the laugh, like the whole creep factor, hallucination, like delusional
He
hallucinations.
just really brought a very uncomfortable realism to it, because being someone that's stayed time in like mental wards, things like that, you see these kind of people, and
Yeah,
they generally do make you pretty uncomfortable. Like there's just some kind of disconnect, or like one thing they brought a good point of showing is just the lack of like knowledge of when to laugh. It's
yeah,
just like laughing at inappropriate times, even when he's not quite sure why. And then that develops further on in the story, just kind of showing, because he's at a comedy club
yeah. He's
during
trying to
that
be a
part,
stand-up comic,
but
yeah,
he laughs when the rest of the crowd isn't laughing.
and it just makes it awkward. And that was one of those points where I felt really uncomfortable because I mean that's so relatable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially when doing something like this, you're putting yourself out there for public domain, whether or not a lot of people see it or not. You know, anything you get on, like some of the first stuff I forgot was just like, what are you doing? This is, and I'm just like, it hits you, and being like, and coming at it at inappropriate times. Like I've had moments like that because
Mm.
you get so nervous. I mean, his was a condition, but I mean, you can relate to that based on just like how you feel when you're in an uncomfortable position. Typically, your go-to response, if you're not completely freaked out, is to laugh as your like last resort.
Mm-hmm. It also shows just kind of a sociopathic tendency where he picks up on other people's laughter, and he's like, okay, I should laugh now. But then once the joke's actually over and he's saying just something, just a little story plot device to move forward,
Yeah, his laugh
he
comes
just
out, and it's just.
breaks out in a laugh. Everyone else is just kind of like, what's this guy doing?
Hmm.
But then when the actual joke comes with the punchline, he's dead silent the whole time.
Yeah,
Which
and
is, it's eerie.
yeah, like it's super creepy. Again, like he definitely did a good job, like in terms of relatability, but at the same time, he was like the most unrelatable like person there.
Mm.
Like I don't know how he did it, but yeah, he made that character, and it was great. I wish DC would do something more with this because this was an interesting take that actually really brought out intense emotions in me.
It really wraps you into it. Like, you can't look away even when you're uncomfortable. You just have to keep feeding into it. And it's just a character that you want to see more of. You want to see how he's going to dominate his universe. It's just someone that you want to praise, but you know you shouldn't.
Yeah,
Especially once you see the entire thing. You aren't on his side, but you can definitely
you understand
understand.
why a lot of people are. But it's like so creepy. It's like a cult thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not something you would expect just someone so mild mannered to do. Like,
Not at all. But it just kind of shows how society can push people over the edge, especially when you don't listen.
and what do you think about that whole societal aspect of like the rich like believing if they made it, anyone can make it, and just the way they were treated? Like you got a whole lot of that, especially in the subway scene. Like
Mm-hmm.
you definitely saw that with that girl and those guys hitting on her. It was
Exactly. It's just kind of that predator versus prey mannerism where it's like, oh, well, I'm doing so much better. Like, you can be like me, you can be huge and great. But the first chance you're going to get to move forward, we're probably going to try mocking you and, like, bringing you down from it so you don't succeed further.
oh yeah.
Because that's a big plot device where he gets invited onto a show, but lo and behold, they're actually trying to mock him because they think his comedy is terrible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and what do you think of like some of the side characters, so, like his mother, and
Frances
obviously,
Conroy did an amazing job at just being that dissonant, like, she's not all there from the very beginning. There's a
oh
part where
yeah,
he helps bathe her and he has to help pick her up. And they have like a regular routine going on. And you
hmm
can just tell there's some marbles loose just from the get go.
Oh yeah,
And he just loves his mother so much to an almost
like creepy
dire
weird.
level.
Yeah, it was super weird. Like there were points where I'm just like, and caught on fairly early. It's just like, oh my god, he was totally abused as a kid, wasn't he?
Hmm. A lot of coping mechanisms you start noticing come out as
Hmm.
soon as he gets uncomfortable or he's starting to feel any sort of pain. And then most of the time, what does he do? He runs to his mother, or he tries finding some kind of comfort, even if no one's actually around, through hallucinations.
Oh yeah, and I think they did the the music, the lighting, everything, like just matched it so well. Like most things were just so dark and dreary, but
Then
then
there would be pops of vibrancy and color and
yeah,
pizzazz
and like that
as you're
whole
racing
ending
through it.
scene, it was just like it was so bright. It was almost like to a parody of itself. It was bizarre, but at the same time, like so incredible.
And one incredible part of it, too, you just get to see the development. Because towards the beginning of the film, it is more gray, it's more dark. He's
Yeah,
not
gritty.
confident at all. Like, you can just see all of the awkwardness he experiences as a person. But then by the end of the film, you've seen, for lack of a better term, the monster has come out. Like, the butterfly has come out of cocoon. He just launches off, and you see someone that you could not recognize from the beginning of the film.
Yeah, he changed a lot, but even from the get go, you sense that there was something just a little off about him. Like this was not a good person.
Hmm.
Like you never got in any aspect that he was like this innocent little butterfly. It was like he wasn't downright deranged, but it was like he always had the creepy factor that again, you just like this is not a good dude. Like he, regardless of like what caused this or whatever, which you find out later, you know, like he's not, he really isn't though. He's not a good dude. He wants to be, I feel,
Hmm.
but you just never get that.
And that's the part where we were discussing, we did kind of relate to the people that were saying, like, oh, this is promoting, like, the school shooter types, things like that.
Yeah,
Because by no means do I agree with it. But it's just kind of showing that almost like, not a school shooter, but Jeffrey Dahmer-esque kind of
yeah.
thing. It's like you knew something was off even from the beginning when he hadn't done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He's just trying his best, but you just feel it completely like maybe this isn't just a condition. Maybe this is his actual thoughts, what's going on in his journal.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah. His
something
journal is like
wrecked.
full of all sorts of just crazy thoughts, like things he finds funny, and it's just some of the most terrible stuff. It's like, what was the joke it keep going back to? It's just like, I hope my death makes more sense than my life.
But it's spelled CNTS.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's punny, and I love puns. I don't know if you like puns. I think you do.
I
I
have a
think you.
weakness for puns.
Yeah. I think I've got that from you. But like, it's so like that and other things in there. It's just so dark. Like, I don't know. Like, there's just nothing but bleakness, and he said it himself. Like he thought his whole life was a tragedy for his whole life. It's just like all his, like what he said to his social worker. All I think are terrible thoughts.
Hmm. Even though she didn't listen. When
Mm-hmm.
he informs her of that you have only listened to me. Barely, but you never seem to recognize I only have these negative thoughts. Which is pretty sad, given the fact that you can see a long history has been there.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think of like the music? Like there wasn't a ton of it, but there was definitely some key things where I remember the music and the build up.
It highlighted key moments in
Yeah.
the best kind of way, because a scene would start out kind of drab, but then you just see kind of like the little human moments, like he dances with himself, he like fakes little situations just in front of his couch, just goofing around. Then they would highlight it with like a little tone of music, like something super uppity. But then next thing you know, it goes dead silent. You just hear a shot, like nothing. Then you can hear
Yeah.
like every wrinkle on a cover being moved, and it just suddenly goes so bleak that you have to watch everything because you know something super important's about to
Yeah, and
happen.
that's one thing I'll say is even when I was super uncomfortable or like just totally like this is fucked up. I couldn't tear my eyes off the screen. I couldn't take my eyes off once. Like I was freaking fooling with my stubble on my face. Like there were some really disturbing things in there. This movie is not for the light of heart. Like if you get offended over stuff, you should not see this movie. If
No.
you have like a weakness for depression or stuff like that,
Suicide, violence,
you
gun
know,
use,
yeah, don't see this.
blood.
There's very little like actual comedy in this.
It's
It,
definitely not child safe. I will say that up front.
yeah,
Does use adult explicit language. Has some definitely sexual moments. And yeah, some imagery that is not good for kids.
oh yeah. So I mean, this was probably one of the best roles I've seen Joaquin Phoenix in for a long time, and I love Joaquin Phoenix. He's
He is
one of
great.
my favorite actors.
If he honestly doesn't win an award for this movie, I'm gonna be
I'd be
damn
so
shocked.
pissed. Like I already hate award shows because I think they're bullcrap anyway. But if he doesn't, I'll be so mad.
By all means, he definitely earned it this one,
Yeah,
through and through.
yeah, and through all this stuff too. I mean, he's not an easy person to work with on set. Like I'm sure, like you said at one point, you would love to work with him. I'm sure you've heard
I
some of the
love a
stories of like how he is on set. Sometimes he just ain't feeling it. So
Well, I mean, from my own experience, I can't blame him. It's
yeah,
hard to be a totally other person, by all means. Some days you just need that breather, sometimes you need to get back into character, and some characters are not easy to jump into. Like, I imagine the
Yeah.
Joker was one that
Yeah,
you probably had a
Joker's
lot
tough.
of isolation for, by all means.
oh yeah, like everyone
Total
from the Joker
transformation.
role like had some psychological issues. Jack Nicholson, he had a freaking issue. Like he pretty much straight up said he'd never do a character like that again because it was so disturbing.
Mm-hmm. He warned Heath Ledger as well, according.
Yeah, he did, and that role killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that role killed him. He went into a spot and he couldn't come out.
Yeah, method acting is a bitch, that's for sure. And you definitely see Joaquin Phoenix's body has completely changed for this role.
Oh
Like,
yeah, to
I
show like
can't recall ever seeing him so thin.
yeah, he's like emaciated.
It
Like
is
he went
bizarre.
way into it.
He looks amazing for the role, but
Not to
if
mention
you've
like
seen
the
normal pictures of him versus this, whew.
Yeah, not to mention like the signs of abuse, like his shoulders, like you see it clearly looks like he's either broken or dislocated his shoulder numerous times. Like he has a shirt on off a lot, and like his shoulders, he has like abrasions on his back. It's like
Lots of scars.
yeah, this is a very scarred individual. And if you're looking for like a happy ending here, you're not gonna find it.
Well, depends on your idea of happy. But
I guess that's
there's
true.
something there for everyone.
Yes, there
People
is.
will want to stay through the whole thing.
Yeah, if you go to this movie, give it a chance, watch it the whole way through. Don't be a freaking Care Bear because this movie is not for you. Don't go if you're a Care Bear. Don't do it. But yeah, you stay to the end, and it definitely has a good payoff. I'm not sure if I describe it as a happy payoff, but it definitely paid off. All right, so let's go into our verdicts then. So, once again, the fact I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I loved the lighting. The pacing was good. I loved the whole social commentary, like how it wasn't preachy, but at the same time, like it was more real than preachy. Like it didn't it literally felt like a real big city.
Yeah, it just pointed out the flaws that people like even us would experience and under the whole administration experience.
Yeah,
There's
and
a lot of issues going on.
yeah, the actors did their jobs great. They were amazing, and honestly, just Joaquin Phoenix. So yeah, It gets an extra point just because of that.
Could watch over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like you'd always see something new in there.
Oh yeah, because there's so much going on there. So honestly, with all that in mind, this one I think is going to be actually the very first 10 I give a movie.
Solid 10.
Yeah.
10.5 if I could.
Because this was, it was just amazing. Like I want more movies like this, and I would like to see DC do something with this, but I don't know. They say it's a standalone, but we'll see, because
I am dying to see Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker.
that would
many
be
more
sick.
times.
That would be sick. Even if it's like just a side, like story, like associated but not with the directly tied to the DCU. I mean, that would still be cool.
I think DC should follow this direction. They'd have a lot better scores on upcoming movies.
Oh yeah, of course there would be a lot more polarization too, because there was a crap ton of controversy with this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, that's for sure, but yeah, for me, I love the crap out of it, and I'm giving it a 10. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for you?
10 out of 10. Easy.
Aces.
No question there.
Alright, so that's for that section, and we'll be back in a little bit with the spoilers. Alright, and we are back with the spoiler section, so...
The first scene is just him putting on his makeup. He's at work, and he's just in front of the mirror. But something is obviously bothering him, because he sits there and tries forcing a smile, forcing a frown, forcing a smile, and then you just see tears coming down, smudging his makeup. It was one of the things they used in the trailers, so that part you've seen. And then it just kind of leads you into seeing his day-to-day job as a clown on the side of the road, trying to help get some business for somewhere going out of business.
Yeah.
And some kids steal a sign from him. There's a dashing chase across the street.
Yeah. He almost gets hit by a car.
Several times.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't even get his sign back. It gets smashed in his face and a bunch of teenagers start beating the crap out of him. Just because he's a clown.
Yeah, and... I mean, worst thing to that is, you know, then you get a look on his work life. You know, he has one of his friends who, well, friends again, I'm talking about, like, pretty much you find out everyone there, like, finds him creepy.
Mm-hmm.
The only one who's, like, actually a little bit nice to him, I forget his name, but he's the dwarf. Yeah.
But as soon as you get back... As soon as he gets back to work, even his boss is just like, really? You got beat up by a bunch of kids. They wanted your sign. That's bullshit. It's just like, why are you such a dick?
Yeah.
Like, he just told you what happened to him. He has bruises.
Yeah, and it's just like, give him back the sign, and it's just like, it's broken.
He doesn't have a sign anymore.
Yeah, and then he goes into his head case. Like, you can hear his boss in the background. Like, his boss is yelling at him, and that's where you find out that everyone finds he's creepy and all that if you listen hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, you can immediately start the tension starting to build up in his head at this point.
Then at that point, he goes back out, he starts getting his stuff together, and then his friend offers him a gun. Just because he's like, this shouldn't happen to you again. He hands him a gun in a brown bag with a bunch of bullets.
I think that was before his talk with his boss, though, wasn't it?
Nope, I believe it was after, I think. So you got that. Because he was like, small dude called him in and was like, hey, boss needs to talk to you. And he's like, okay. Because he's not fired yet.
Okay. Well, no, that wasn't the meeting where he was fired. That was the second one. That was the children's hospital where the gun he acquired came out of his pants.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I laughed. Like, that was
the one
and
scene you couldn't help but laugh at.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily that it was funny. I mean, it definitely had a comedic timing to it, but it was just so, like, random and so shocking that you He couldn't help it.
Because he was singing and dancing and clapping, if you're happy and you know it, with a bunch of kids. And then out of his pants suddenly drops a revolver just onto the floor in front of staff, small children, everyone. And it's just one of those moments you can't hold back at least a gasp, like a like, did that just, oh.
That just happened.
And then, shortly after, his boss finds out about the gun in the children's hospital, and he loses his job, which instantly spikes some very sarcastic tension between him and his coworkers.
Oh yeah, because I mean, at this point, what's the point in pretense? You know, he knows that they don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, except for the little man.
Yep, and he tries calling out his coworker Randy, who gave him the gun, in front of everyone. And Randy didn't like that too much at all, and tries pushing the blame off, saying he's lying. And then he proceeds to punch a time clock off of the wall and scribble out, "Please smile," to "Don't smile."
Yes. Or it's "Don't forget to smile" to "Don't smile." There we go. Yeah, I remember that. And yeah, you go into his home life, like, oh my God. His mother is like something else.
Total head case. She just seems very distant.
And she's obsessed with, like, she's told him this lie his entire life that he is the son of Bruce Wayne.
Well, she didn't tell him that.
Well, okay, no, okay.
She was saying that she needed to get in contact with Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
And that was so, so important. She sent bunches of letters, never got a response.
Yeah, he found one of the letters, and that's where it comes from. Yeah, that's because he finds one of the letters before she sends it off.
Mm-hmm. And then she reveals, oh, he's not Bruce. He's Thomas Wayne's son.
Thomas Wayne, yeah.
And she worked for him all these years ago. It's this big fiasco. He ends up going to the mental hospital to try getting her records because he found out his mom had been brought into Arkham on a bunch of charges. And he's told that apparently he was adopted.
Yeah, apparently he was some kid.
Does not go over well.
Yeah, and like this is where like the violence starts to come in, because once he finds out about this, he confronts his mom, and you know she's being the head case that she is. She doesn't take it so well. She starts to melt down, says, "Don't be angry."
Hides in the bathroom and locks the door.
Yeah, and then so you know a little bit later he's gone, and the cops come and question her, and that leads her to have a stroke. Like she strokes out.
Mm-hmm. And then he comes back, and there's an ambulance taking her away, and detectives try pursuing him at the hospital to ask more questions about a murder that he committed.
Yeah, so
on the subway system.
Totally forgot about that. So yeah, before she strokes out, there's this subway scene. It's right after he gets fired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he's in a bad head case, and there's these three just rich stockbroker type whatever.
And they're harassing a girl on the subway, trying to be like, "Oh, well, he was nice to you. Notice him, and throwing French fries at her. And him being socially awkward as he is, he starts laughing because it's supposedly his condition. So he starts laughing when that happens. The girl leaves. He can't stop laughing. So these three businessmen decide to beat him up.
Mm-hmm.
So they begin trying that. And
like you see his like as this is going on, it pans to his face, and you'd see not pain, but just rising anger from his face. And then all of a sudden, it just cuts away to one of the guys kicking him, and then, like, his head is just literally blown up.
And then he proceeds to shoot everyone else that's in the train, which is just him and the three brokers.
Yeah,
and then one of them tries running off the train.
Yeah, 3 times in the chest. He gets shot in the leg, or it's either in the leg or in the ass. I couldn't actually tell.
Yeah, that was a tough one. It was right in between.
Yeah, and he almost gets away, but after he gets off the train, you know, he can't run fast enough. Shot in the back, and then he shoots him 3 more times in the back.
Mm-hmm. And then he just doesn't know what to do, so he immediately runs out of the subway, goes and finds a bathroom. He's now covered in blood, and he just kind of has a moment where he's dancing in the bathroom mirror with this guy's blood on his face.
Yeah, just pure bliss. Pure bliss. And at this point, you realize, you know, he's obviously crushed a threshold. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no going back at this point.
Definitely, and it just gets a lot worse from there on.
Oh yeah,
Then
because
his
it's
entries get worse.
yeah, but it leads to
Behavior.
feedback loop because all of society, like the haves and the have-nots, like all the small group of haves, like oh god, what's his name? Bruce's father,
Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah, like he likes again. It's like talking about how he made it and talking about the poor as though they're clowns.
And that he just wants to help them, but they're
Like
all
there are
bad.
no nice people in this movie. There is literally the little guy is the only nice person in this movie.
Or the girl that he almost has interest in.
Oh god,
He meets
that's
the girl
yeah, that's
on
a
the
whole
elevator
subplot. Oh my
with her
god.
daughter, and they just have an exchange where like she's like, "This building sucks, doesn't it?" And does this motion, and then he does it back. And supposedly from there, you think they're having like a little fling. There's a scene where he goes up to her door, knocks, opens it, and they just start making out and disappear. Then it shows them like going to the hospital when his mom had the stroke together.
She goes to his comedy
in
show.
the comedy show. But then later
It's
it reveals he was imagining the whole thing, and he actually breaks into this woman's apartment, even though they've met once.
Yeah, and it was so like I've seen movies do that before, and sometimes it works out well, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That one worked out really well because I think a part of me like realized it was happening, but I think there was enough of me that was hoping that it wasn't. That it literally kind of shocked me the way it came out.
The moment it confirmed it for me was when they were standing outside reading the newspaper
Yeah,
about the shootings, and this girl turns to him and says, "Yeah, they're a bunch of dumbasses. Like, they're terrible. I think whoever this Joker guy is doing a great job." And then
Yeah.
he gets an ego boost from this girl who supposedly likes him and thinks he did a good job.
yeah, and she stalks him too.
Well,
Or, I mean, he
stalks her
yeah. Reverse
going down
that.
across the street. And she notices, but that's also confirmed
Yeah,
as fake later.
yeah, and I'm just like it definitely threw me for a loop. I had to think about that for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because again, they just did a great job about it. And yeah, so literally any good thing in his life is just obliterated at this point.
And once you think, oh, Thomas Wayne is his father, he has this creepy moment of showing up at the Wayne Manor. Bruce is outside playing in the yard, and Joker's walking by. Arthur puts this clown nose on, gets Bruce's attention, then he plays with him through the fence, and one of their guards notices.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brings up, and supposedly he's told his mother's just crazy. She's insane. She lied to you about everything. Thomas Wayne isn't your father. Like, go home. And that's when he breaks into the hospital to find his records, which he digs even deeper and finds out not only is his mother crazy,
But she abused him as a
and
child.
her boyfriend abused him terribly and neglected him and abandoned him on top of it all.
Yeah, it's just like, and he must have just phased it all out because he loves his mother to death. Oh my gosh! And after he discovers this, he goes back to the hospital with his mother, and he's talking about how he always thought his life was a tragedy, and that his laugh was a condition, but it's just like, no, that's who I am.
And it's fine that I laugh at these fucked up, terrible things.
And then he proceeds to suffocate his mother to death with a pillow. Which is actually very graphic. Like, it does not hold back. That is...
Not at all.
Because that was a long scene.
Mm-hmm.
Most people would not hold on to it for that long, but no, yeah, it would take a good couple minutes for you to choke out that way.
Mm-hmm. But you get to watch every glorious minute of it.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, no one at the hospital at that point, comes into check and pursue.
Yeah, or that she's like hitting the button and like nothing's happening.
And her pulse rate is like shooting up and then drop. So, not very good hospital staff, Gotham. You guys suck.
Indeed. I mean, it could be because of the cutbacks, cutting back social programs, probably hospitals too,
Well, I
education.
mean, we all saw how Arkham Asylum worked out too in the video games.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's an Arkham problem.
Oh yeah. Arkham's just bad news bears. Anything that goes wrong when it deals with anything in like Batman universe, it's Arkham's problem. It's Arkham's problem. That's all it ever was. All it ever was.
Gotham's a shit show.
Exactly. It always is.
And then from that point, once he decides to kill his mother, they keep in mind they have this talk show they loved watching.
Oh
It's
yeah.
pretty much the equivalent of like the Jay Leno show or like Stephen Colbert for us. And there's this host that he idolizes and
Mhm.
has fantasies about. And he finally gets offered to meet him after some of his comedy special that he did gets shown on live TV.
But it was made fun of, and he's just like, it's just like, all right, I'll do it. And at that point, things have started escalating. So you're wondering, like, what is he really doing? It's like, is he going to fulfill a fantasy, or is he going to stand up for himself? Like, you don't know what is actually going to happen. You just know this is his moment that he's dreamed of his whole life.
And you see him getting ready, puts on his makeup, he dyes his hair green, he's danced around the bathroom, he's getting all prepared.
Oh yeah,
But then his friends come to visit.
Mhm.
Things haven't been going so well. They heard his mom died. Detectives have been around asking about all the different clowns and if any of them were responsible for the murders.
And the short guy, like, you get a feeling that he's really there because he cares. He gets a bottle of wine, stuff like that. Someone who cares actually would do. The big guy, you find out later, the only reason he came is because he was the one who gave him the gun.
Mm-hmm. So
And
he
that's
comes
all
to
he cared
see what
about.
he told the cops.
Mm-hmm. And that leads to a very brutal scene.
With some scissors.
Yeah, where he stabs him in the neck, and then stabs him in the eye, and then proceeds to crush his skull against the wall.
Blood spattering everywhere. It does
Yeah.
not spare any details. You see the full head smash going on the entire time.
Yeah, it was very gratuitous. And the
Then
little
his other
guy's
friend
just
in the
sitting there
corner,
like,
like,
why?
What the fuck? And unfortunately, he's too short to open the door because it was locked.
Indeed.
So he has to ask Arthur to get up, unlock the door for him, and he gets one last little jump scare before he's let out of the apartment.
But yeah.
Where he maybe didn't tell the cops that his other friend got murdered by clowns.
No, I think he did, and that's why the cops when they found him dancing on the stairwell. I think he did tell them, and that's why they were there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an assumption, but it does tie in if you think about it.
That's another one of the happiest moments in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's this very frivolous moment where he's dancing down the stairs to his apartment, like full on dancing, upbeat music in the background. He is having the time of his life until the detectives come and he has to run through traffic again, and he does get hit by a car.
Oh yeah, he gets mangled by a car. Like,
he gets plowed over, and then he has to keep going,
mm-hmm.
and the detectives chase him onto the subway trying to find him. But since the protests are going on, there's a bunch of people in clown makeup.
Oh yeah, since he killed these three, like, apparently the poor have taken it like as it's the rich versus the poor, and it starts that whole thing where there's now riots going on. It's just like they're fighting cops, they're fighting rich people.
No one is safe.
Exactly.
And as they're plowing their way through the subway, they're showing their police badges and saying, out of the way, take off your mask, out of your way.
Most of them comply, except for one who grabs the gun, and then he proceeds to get shot and killed.
Before then, Joker manages to get into the back of the train, and he rips off one dude's mask, which starts him to go to punch him.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of punching Joker, he punches the dude behind him, which starts a fight as a distraction that the cops have to deal with. And then that dude does get the gun from the cop because he threatens to shoot them if they don't stop fighting.
Yeah.
And then they just start beating the crap out of him off of the subway car. And Joker just gets to smile, laugh, pull off the fake mask, and then trot away to go to his TV interview.
Oh, yeah. And, oh my god, this TV interview. Oh my god.
It escalates very quickly.
Like, he plays like he's going to do this joke with this gun,
And that you just keep waiting and waiting. He rehearsed it at his house, just sitting there, knock, knock.
Yeah. And he does
He's
this.
there. Multiple times you see that imagery.
And he also practices his entrance. His entrance was glorious.
It was fabulous, and he kisses this doctor, and she just looks traumatized afterwards, sitting there like, oh, for the rest of the interview, and it even off-puts Robert De Niro's character, who's the interviewer.
Yeah.
And he keeps telling a series of jokes that just are not funny about someone who got in a car accident and died.
Yeah, and they're just like, we can't joke about that. It's just like, we're a clean show.
And then immediately after, he admits to the murders he committed on live television.
Mm-hmm.
And no one believes him at first, but he keeps going and keeps going until the whole crowd is just riled up. And then it comes to a giant crescendo where he shoots Murray in the face.
Yeah, he's just like, you know what you get when you... What was the joke? Do you remember? It's something like, what do you get when you mix something and something? It's just like, just what you deserve, Murray. And he just literally, it's just this quick...
Blows his head right back.
Yeah.
And then shoots him a bunch of other times in the torso.
Yeah, the first shot was so amazing, though. Like, his head literally exploded. It just goes in and it's like a grape.
Mm-hmm. And then everyone freaks out, of course, and starts running off. And then he just does the closing message on the TV station and is immediately tackled by cops. He's in a cop car, and that's when it just kind of shows this giant diversity. Everything in the streets now is colorful. There's clowns everywhere. There's cars on fire, people protesting, people breaking into stores. And he's just smiling and genuinely happy in the back of this cop car, laughing. And the officers in front of him are just like, this isn't a laughing matter, stop. And then suddenly,
yeah,
an ambulance crashes into the cop car.
Oh my gosh, and...
It's driven by a clown.
And they drag him out, like they see that he's in there, and they drag him out, pull him to the hood of the car, and when he finally comes to, like, he gets on top of the car, and everyone's just like...
Worshipping him.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what I was like, so creepy. It's like a cult thing.
Because everyone saw him on TV, everyone knows, and then everyone's just cheering him on. He's dancing, he's just staring around, so happy, and then it just leaves it open-ended. Because then it's like, what's gonna happen now? Gotham's in shambles. There's riots everywhere. Even the police aren't helping.
And then it opens up to he's in Arkham again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to, I assume would be a therapist.
But immediately after, he just starts laughing. And she's like, can you tell me the joke you're laughing at? You see him walk out of this interview room and you see bloody shoes. Just shoe prints going down the hall.
And then he gets chased down the hall by orderlies, and that's how it ends.
Back and forth. And the end in bright yellow letters.
Yeah, and again, that was, like I said, it ended so brightly, it was almost literally like a parody of itself.
It was jubilant.
Yeah, it was amazing.
A strange contrast, but absolutely flawless through and through.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I would compare it almost to like the ending of A Clockwork Orange. You don't support the character, but you've come on such a long trip. You've gotten to know the character.
Yeah.
So now you're just kind of like, okay, I'm glad something happened for you. Like, go. But then you're like, wait, you're a terrible person. Oh, God.
Exactly. Like I say, you never feel sympathy for him. The closest you get to that is you realize he's not a good dude, but you don't want him. Yeah. And you don't want him to be a bad dude. But he is a bad dude, and you know that almost immediately right off the bat. So yeah, that literally best movie I've seen so far this year.
Agreed. 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
Really hope DC continues on with this trend and does something similar otherwise. Birds of Prey is going to be coming out sometime next year.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can follow the Joker up, because I'm not quite sure it can compare.
Hopefully it's better than the first one, because, oh my god.
Yeah. Suicide Squad is not on my list of anything, I will say.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about that, just to close it out, is the problem with... Oh god, now I forgot his name. Who played Deadshot?
Will Smith?
Will Smith. The problem with any movie with Will Smith is it inevitably becomes all about Will Smith.
He is magnetizing.
Which is why it was probably a really good thing that he wasn't in The Matrix. because it would have changed it so much, and it would
With
probably
Keanu
never been.
Reeves.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it for our review. It is a bit late. That's probably going to be for the foreseeable future the norm, though. Obviously, because with our work schedules, let alone her filming schedule, stuff I'm doing, Sundays is just the best day for us right now. That may change. There may be certain times where stars align where we can do it earlier, but we'll see. But yes, it is something we are actually really enjoying doing. So you will definitely see more of her in the future. So thank you for joining us, and we'll
Have a
see
good
you
night.
next time.